What's up, YouTube? This is Jim Afanis, aka Viper Magic, and today I got my dog One-Eyed Chloe and Sophie with me to do a little bit of video on Killzone Shadowfall. So as you all know, I was a little critical of this game when it first came out, and I didn't really understand what the big deal with it was. I've been playing it for a while now. I did buy it thanks to Best Buy having it on sale and Gamers Club Unlocked. I got it for a pretty sweet price. And I gotta say, after investing some time with it, it's a pretty kick-ass game. So I'm gonna eat a little bit of humble pie and do a video on this and show you guys why I think you might want to check it out. It's actually really, really cool. So let's dive right into some world-class gameplay. So I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this game is amazingly beautiful. I really like the way it runs. It runs at 60 frames a second on multiplayer, and it looks sexy as hell. I hope that translates well. I am using Share Factory, which I believe only records at 720p. There's some compression factor in there. I know YouTube might change it a little bit, so what I am seeing versus what you guys are seeing might be a little different. But just the amount of detail, the graphical detail that went into this game, the lens flares, the reflections, the shadows, it is absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful. And I have said numerous times that to me, Infamous Second Son is the sexiest game on PlayStation 4. And after spending a lot of time with the multiplayer on this, I can say that this game is a very close second, if not better than Second Son. So if you guys like eye candy, this game is for you. As far as the actual gameplay goes, I'm new to the whole Killzone story. I haven't played any of the previous ones. I've played through some of the story on this, but I've really spent more of my time on multiplayer. I realized that I don't spend a lot of my time playing shooters on the console. I usually do that for PC, so I thought, with Destiny coming out and all, it's probably good to get some practice. And Best Buy had this game on sale, as I mentioned, so I got it on the cheap. The multiplayer aspect of it, and even single player, I'll go there, but primarily on the multiplayer aspect, revolves around first-person kind of shooting gunplay. It's interesting, though, that this game, being a PlayStation in-house exclusive title, doesn't really utilize the touchpad too much in the multiplayer. In the single player, you control your owl, and with a quick swipe left, right, up, or down, you can change the behavior of it. And your owl is basically like an automated turret that floats behind you to shoot people. It's almost, since I still have Destiny on my mind, it's just like your Ghost, but with guns. So it's interesting that in the multiplayer, it just defaults to the standard pressing the touchpad to see the overall score of the game, which is kind of lame, but okay, I'll bite. There are, in the multiplayer aspect of it, the thing that I really like that this game did is they have this extended war zone. And basically, it's a map that you play, and it's a best of 9 on objectives. So as you can see in this particular video that I'm playing, the score is 2-2. And what happens is you load in the map, and it does take a little bit longer, so I guess that's a downside. But these maps will run upwards of 25 to 30 minutes if you need the full time. And the objectives will keep changing in 5-minute increments. It may be a search and destroy mission. It may be defend your turret. It may be, or defend your area if you're not attacking. It may be just straight up multiplayer like deathmatch, who can kill more people. It may be retrieving a beacon. It fluctuates and it's random. There are a few different game modes, but I believe everyone is covered in every map. But it's cool because it mixes up the variety of gameplay, and you do find that the map is pretty large, and you do find that the battle shifts from location to location, obviously where the hotspot is. So right now on the map that we're playing, where I'm at is a pretty tight area, and you see I'm walking outside respawn, and I'm like immediately engaging with people. Later on, this part of the map will be completely dead, and we'll be pushing in a different part of the map. So I do appreciate the diversity in this, and I like it that once you're in, and you can just keep playing and playing and playing. Now at the end, you do get the standard score screen. You see all your unlocks, your kills, your stats, and everything. But it keeps the gameplay going a little bit longer when they do these diverse kind of gameplay settings, and I would love to see more of this in other shooters. I understand that people like the compartmentalized piece of games. You could just jump into a game, play a quick match with your buddies, and then jump out. But the reality is nobody does that. The real gamers, the real hardcore dedicated gamers, are playing deep dives on these games for a couple hours. So it's more of a convenient thing for us, being the hardcore gamer, that we could just load up one map and play it for a while without waiting and waiting and waiting. Since you can change your loadouts on the fly, and I do play, the class I play is the support class with the turret, and I also revive people. You see me do that quite a lot. The class that I play, I like to play defensively, but if you're more aggressive and you want to change it out, they have the sniper and the assault and all that other stuff. And you could change that without penalty after every death. So in these long maps where, you know, you're not really bound to one type of gameplay or one type of weapon set or one kind of loadout or anything, that can all be tweaked on the fly over and over again. So I like that. So I appreciate the diversity. I think that's something great, and I think other games should really consider looking at that. The actual gameplay itself, it seems to be a little slower paced shooter, and maybe that's why I found myself enjoying it so much. On a lot of the twitchy stuff, I'm not very good at that. That's just my personal gameplay style. I'm used to a keyboard and a mouse. So when I use the analog sticks, and although the DualShock feels great, even though I use the analog sticks, not as great. And you can see I miss a lot of simple shots that I probably shouldn't make. I find myself strafing into shots sometimes as opposed to just snapping my aim to them. And overall, this game just seems slower. The guys seem to run a little slower, like kind of clunky almost. But that's my perfect style. I do miss some of the verticality that the jetpack brought with Destiny, for example, comparing it to other shooters I've played. But the maps themselves, I don't know, would lend that very well. Obviously, they're designed without a jetpack in mind, but there are numerous layers, and it's pretty easy to get around on the map. Although I find I have a tendency, as most other players, to stay on the high ground and, if anything, jump down as opposed to jump up. I don't do it in this video, but when you actually want to climb up a wall or climb up a ladder, it's a pretty lengthy animation, during which time you're completely vulnerable and you cannot shoot your gun or anything like that. Like when you're climbing up a ladder, you see your guy's hands clong, clong, clong up each peg of the ladder. So looking at that and kind of debating about, you know, should I climb up this wall to get better vantage point or whatever, the answer is typically no. In addition, this game has a pretty strong one-hit melee kill, as most do. When you jump down on top of an enemy, it automatically triggers an instant kill animation. And again, there's no counter to that. So there's the other advantage for kind of staying up higher than lower. But despite that, you know, the maps do have a lot going on to them. There is kind of a natural level of stealth because some of these maps are pretty brightly colored. This one being like an old ship factory. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's very easy for enemies to kind of blend into the background. Now, obviously, when you get close and start aiming at someone, it will show their name across the top, so you know, oh, this is an enemy. But a lot of times, if they're on the horizon, they kind of blend in the background a little bit, and I do appreciate that art style. There are some other maps in the game that are more. There's like a jungle terrain, and there's also a a map that's outside that's like near a waterfall. And in those maps, enemies do stick out a little bit more, or blend in a little bit more, rather, than even on this, which is surprising. So something to be wary of, that if you did get into this game, it's not like very bright colored, like, hey, I'm here, shoot me kind of things. Enemies do tend to bleed in a little bit. And in addition to that, there are so many lighting and different kinds of, I don't know all the correct lighting terms, but you could see how you get blinded temporarily when you look up at lights. There's a lot of halos, there's a lot of shadow effects, a lot of neon, bright neon that reflects off different surfaces, and boy, does this game really pop. There's a couple levels where you play in like an abandoned, like a shanty town almost, where there's a lot of like a red light district where there's a lot of red neon, and it looks so good. So I really can't say enough about that part of it. The actual customization of your guns, it's okay. I mean, I've played games that have a little deeper dive. I mean, obviously, a Battlefield 4 veteran, there are so many sights and grips that you can have. And these, you're fairly limited to just a few guns with a few different scopes, with a few different types of grenades, and then you get your 2 special weapons. Again, I'm using a repair drone, or revive drone rather, that'll just revive down players, and the turret. I could substitute those out for different, there's a few different things you could choose from. There's those big air support vehicles that you saw me shooting at earlier. There are teleport, like respawn beacons, and again, a little bit of diversity. The longer you stick with a weapon, or an item I should say, the more powerful it gets. So I believe in this video my turret is like a Mark 6, and my revive drone's like a Mark 4. Basically that means my turret is a little bit stronger, it stays out a little bit longer, and I think most importantly, when the turret is actually destroyed and you need to make a new one, the recovery time is significantly reduced, and it's by seconds each time. So you notice in the bottom left-hand corner of my HUD, I got the left and right controller bind. When it's there's any grayscale in the backgrounds, it means it's on cooldown. And boy, let me tell you, it is so frustrating when you're in the middle of a gunfight, you want to drop a turret, and you can't because it's on cooldown, and you're pressing the button like an idiot, and you just end up getting killed because you're more focused on your stupid turret than you are on shooting the dude in the face. Anyways, I digress. I do appreciate this game a lot. I know that some new DLC came out for it recently. I've been seeing a lot of videos for some of the new standalone stuff, actually. No game required, which is interesting. But maybe they're trying to get people into it in any way they can. I don't know the cost on it yet or anything. I haven't really looked into it too much. I just saw the video. The one thing is they seem to kind of throw the transaction stuff at you a little too much. Like, you need to pay to play co-op, which I think is really lame. You need to, they show you like there's a new class or some new weapons, and they like, oh, you want these? Oh, you gotta pay. So I do get frustrated sometimes when I feel like they're wagging this DLC in front of you. And to me, DLC should be above and beyond. If you're showing it fully integrated into the core gameplay experience, which admittedly, there's not a whole lot to the menu system on this game. I showed a little snapshot of it when I was doing my live video up in the corner earlier. But if you're integrating that into the core game, it's pretty shitty, y'all, not to actually put it in the real game and not make me pay for it. I mean, I bought your console, I bought your stand, I bought your camera, I bought your game, and now you're like, well, wait, there's one more thing. So, not particularly happy about that. And that isn't a knock towards Shadowfall exclusively. That's a knock towards all gaming. But Shadowfall does, it does annoy you when the first thing you see is, buy the DLC. It's like, dude, I just bought your game. Again, I got this on the cheap. I did get it from Gamers Club Unlocked. But hey, you know what? That's an extra service that I paid for, and I'm not asking for everything for free. Obviously, I invested heavily in the PlayStation ecosystem. Oh, add PlayStation Plus to the list of things that I've bought. I have invested pretty heavily in the PlayStation ecosystem, so I'm not complaining too much, but I am. So I think you all agree with that. I don't think I'm going to make any new fans with that. So it is a cool game. I'm digging it. I know when Destiny comes out, my shooter time's going to probably be split. I will say that I did get this game prior to the Destiny beta ending, and I was a non-believer on that whole frame rate per second thing, the 30 versus 60, but holy shit, when you are running this game and then you go back and play Destiny, it is jarring. It is absolutely jarring of how different it looks. So I'm a believer of that too, a huge believer of that. And this game really hits it on all marks. It really does. A little slower than probably most people are used to, like I mentioned, but really good game. And definitely I'm eating some humble pie on this because I was a little critical of this game when it first came out, but it's a winner. And if you're a PlayStation 4 owner and you're looking for a shooter, I think you guys would do yourself a great disservice if you skipped over this one. HUDs are pretty. And you know, one other cool thing I wanted to mention real quick. The graphics, the actual text in the game, is like the PlayStation font from like the PlayStation days. Like the original, when they used to write PlayStation and they had that font is in here. And I think that is so cool. It's like a little throwback to like what was, you know? Anyways, I digress. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe. I'm up to a whopping 17 cents now. Thanks to you guys. And I will see you all on the other side.